I'll go ahead and preface this video by saying that The Quiet Man is not a great game. Given its length, execution, and various other aspects, I would even go as far to say that The Quiet Man is not even a good game. But I'm not here to bash a game most people only heard about through a trailer at E3 2018. Geez, it took me a while to get here. No, I want it to be known that while I don't think The Quiet Man is good, I also think just labeling it as bad isn't quite right either. It had a lot of potential to be something more than the end result we were given. To put things in a positive light, The Quiet Man showcases examples of gripping and engaging cinematography, gameplay elements, and a premise rarely seen, if ever, in everyday media. In just the few opening seconds of the game, we were pretty much informed, every way but verbally, that our protagonist, Dane, for the most part, can't hear.
What the hell, man? You stupid or very stupid? ¡Muévase!
And I say for the most part for reasons we'll get into later. But despite this, our protagonist is in no way disadvantaged. If anything, the absence of sound gives more attention to the vibrations and the use of highlight sensory if the visuals of the game are any indication. The vibration tries to apply itself through every aspect of the game, be it combat, movement, cutscenes. It's always present in one way or another. Light also seems to show how well off Dane is faring, as the more intense it is, or even the change of color, can represent the character's stamina. The issue with vibration is just how well the element is applied, the most noticeable application being combat. Every time you throw a punch, or are punched, your controller responds with vibration, basically in the same way most games respond, because displaying in-game touch with responsive vibration is nothing new. But there are better ways that this element could have been applied. For example, if our Quiet Man can't hear, but has heightened senses, it may have been a little better to display this feature by applying more centralized vibration that conveys the footsteps of enemies that would correspond with the vibration of the controller. The aggressive movement of a foe that is about to strike could be better represented with a more direct intensity of vibration, further guided by the changing color of light in that particular enemy's direction. I personally like the way the game applies its lighting, and the dampened audio you hear is an immersive plus. I just feel that using these already prevalent features in a way that could guide the player would have had a much better payoff. Now, there are a lot of areas where this feature would work against the player, like during moments where there are an absurd amount of opponents that can gang up on you would probably end up making the vibration too abrasive. But better examples of this idea would be applying it more heavily in areas with less stable footing, like the creaky floorboards of a shabby apartment, whereas fighting on the streets would yield the opposite effect. If vibration is going to play a key feature, then using the amount of vibration based on the terrain you're on could add a new layer of depth during combat. The Quiet Man goes all in to convey that we are playing as a character that cannot hear, with the game telling us up front the cutscenes will come with subtitles, but only when said subtitles are intended for the player and not the protagonist. Thematically, this conveyance is well done, but does leave us watching multi-minute long cutscenes with next to no audio. While I feel this works in a case where characters didn't know our protagonist can't hear, I'm kind of left scratching my head when the game establishes characters that know Dane, but these characters continue to talk to our protagonist as if he could hear them. This makes me wonder if our character can actually understand a little bit. But more so, why wasn't more effort given to the sign language, as this does seem to happen every now and then. Additionally, it seems that sometimes the player character does respond to things. This is something I wish was done with a little more care, as overall it dampens the understanding of the story as a whole. While I understand the idea of subtitles only appearing when applied to us, why not give some kind of translation for us when characters are trying to talk to the main character, so we can at least establish more of the story or what's even going on at all. The visuals are a topic all their own. The Quiet Man has a visual style that confidently feels like a bold choice, but also comes with a lot of consequence. Choosing to use live action video that slowly transitions into 3D in-game models is always going to look a little harsh on the eyes. That said, I don't think The Quiet Man looks bad by any means. The full motion video moments are very well shot and performed, and the 3D models don't have a problem holding their own. That said, transitioning between live action and pre-rendered cutscenes to in-game models is something I find is hard to do without off-putting your viewer. But even I have to admit that sometimes the transitions don't look too bad. I commend the choice to blend live action, pre-rendered animation, and in-game action. And while it didn't look perfect, this is a great attempt that even some AAA titles have done worse. I guess when it boils down to it, that's what makes The Quiet Man so frustrating. Each element of the game is either done well or just seems to barely miss the mark. The story, from what you can understand, does seem to be pretty interesting. Writing in your typical good guy revenge story that gives way to something more supernatural at parts, and the way this is represented both in-game and cinematically is pretty impressive and engaging. Sadly, it's the idea of telling a story with next to no audio whatsoever, leaving you staring at a mute cutscene and grasping at straws for what could be a phenomenal story, that just makes it all seem kind of pointless. Having a deaf protagonist is a unique concept, but when the player is the one feeling not in the know, well then it may be something that needs to be put back on the drawing board. The greater sting is that playing through The Quiet Man really kept me interested. I wanted to know what was going on, because there is story here that seems worth telling, but withholding any semblance of storytelling, be it through text or sound, truly leaves your story as quiet as your audio. I've been made aware of a PC version that patched the audio during cutscenes, and in my own opinion, it made the idea of the game much brighter. There may have been a way of muting parts of the audio in cutscenes that would have worked, but removing the audio as a whole just doesn't seem like the right answer. The element of gameplay is another aspect that falls just short of something great. Fighting does feel good, and the button presses to cinematic takedowns feel satisfying. It's just not anything that nearly a ton of other games haven't already done better. Games like Arkham Asylum, Spider-Man, and the Yakuza series have a much better take on this style of combat. You can certainly enjoy it, but it's not like there might not be other games on your shelf that could easily quench that thirst for a good brawl. The added feature of muted scuffles sounds interesting, but does also still leave you wondering if you should leave your sound on at all. Combat, narrative, sound design, it all really feels like an effort was made, but ultimately just doesn't do enough to stand above the rest. It's also something that I don't feel I have to think hard to find a comparison to, because it makes me feel the same way I felt about Square Enix's much older title, The Bouncer. The Bouncer is a game that I adore, but also feel could have used a lot more work to really show the potential it had. Square Enix, to me, always shines when they work on something different from their typical Final Fantasy series, and while I know that Human Head Studio was a developer, I feel that they, as developers, did a lot to make this game what it was. It just sucks to see something that had so much effort put into it fall so flat due to a few decisions and a little less polishing. The Quiet Man is a game I'll probably never play again. Square Enix publishing titles of different genres is more often than not an effort that rewards the hard work put into it, and we've been blessed with a lot of titles because of it. It is unfortunate that The Quiet Man won't be one of its examples, at least not in the state that it's in. Sadly, it will probably be remembered for its failure more so than its potential, and will likely be the reason we won't be seeing something like this attempted again for a while. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for listening to me whine about The Quiet Man, a game that I truly feel could have had so much more potential. If you're new and liked what you saw, then consider subscribing, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. As always, have a great day, and keep it practical.